Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're checking out a hybrid portal deck. They seem to be doing quite well in the current meta, to at least, I would say, average. Definitely going to be sitting in the tier 2 category. I don't see it sitting in tier 1, but it's definitely a strong as deck. I really enjoyed playing it as well. Took a little bit to get the hang of, as I'm not used to playing hybrid portal, so learning how to go about certain moves was my best option. Also, I am running triple Puppet Room over Loco, mainly because I just don't have 3 Locos or the vials to craft them right now. As soon as I do have 3, I would replace these Puppet Rooms, but they serve a very similar purpose. The biggest difference being, of course, that Loco would allow you to remove opponents' things, whereas Puppet Room really just gives you the puppet bonus that Loco would have. So, Puppet Room, not the best replacement, but I do think it's definitely a suitable one, at least in this deck. It also brings the cost of the deck down a little bit, which is becoming a problem for Puppet Portal as it tends to be more expensive. This one also doesn't run any kind of Orcus combo because it isn't really needed. Mostly Noah, which as you'll see does a pretty good job. Sylvia and Spidaria really do some good work. And we are running one Outer World Invader, which I haven't actually had a chance to use, but the Banish all enemy followers could be pretty decent for most wideboard matchups, especially things like Holy Lion, which are becoming fairly good and we will be covering in our next video, so hopefully you'll stay tuned for that. Otherwise, you are running the very standard artifact engine at the start, then transitioning into puppets more towards the mid game. Once you get past that kind of turn 3, turn 4 bracket, you are really moving into a more puppet oriented game to get ready for Noah and take advantage of different things. And Go Rombi is actually a really cool card and I've really enjoyed using that one, so hopefully you guys can enjoy that as well. But we'll get right into this and check it out. So our first game is against Rune. Rune has been climbing in popularity as of late, and it's not such a big surprise. I mean, it's Rune, that's what it does. It's great at doing what it does, which is normally spell boosting. We've also been seeing some Earthright decks, but not quite as many as I would say the Chimera decks that have been really pumping boards. We're starting off with a pretty decent hand, having the Silva. I'm pretty sure it's Sylvia, but we'll go with it. Silva is going to be great. I mean, can't go wrong, especially with 2 of them now. Do go for the Icarus first, only because I'm looking to put a couple of artifacts into the deck, and ancient artifacts are usually pretty decent options. Then of course we get our substitution, which should be pretty decent to go with this as well. And I do go for the Puppet Room, which will give us double puppets, which means we can start abusing Silver with these puppets, which is what I actually really like to do. Sometimes I don't like pulling my low cost drops unless I need them or I don't have any other option. Mainly because, of course, it can make things more difficult, like here. In this case, I couldn't really use this and didn't really want to. Thus, using the Silver was fine. But Rune does do a really good job at clearing stuff, so until they really put something on board, I can't really start taking advantage of anything too big. And we do have our Vengeful Noah already, which is great. So as long as we make sure we have at least 3 puppets in hand, when we play Noah we will go up to 4 and be able to fill a board. Then we do get another Puppet Room, so we can just start taking advantage of these puppets. We've got plenty of space. We're getting 2 damage every time we attack per turn, which is awesome. You can't really go wrong with that. And really against Rune, this deck does fairly decent due to it being a more aggressive style of deck. And you can clear off a lot of these sort of followers. So substitution, pretty great way to deal with it. Using Hamlin to just duplicate a puppet gets Hamlin on board and allows us to just use some of these puppets wastefully. Although keeping them sometimes is a good option if you are planning, but in this case we really just want to be able to deal with them so we don't have to worry. Because we really want a 1-turn win sort of situation instead of having to try and get it over 2 turns where potentially Rune can really screw you over. There is their Abomination Awakened and Prophecy of Boons. Does let them go to 9. Not a big shocker. Some people are teching Abominations in their Rune decks now. Don't really like it too much myself. Personally, I find Abomination a very clunky card to take advantage of in really any Rune deck overall. It's good, but I just feel like it's clunky. Most of the time, I tend to play out as many cards as I can. Sometimes I'll overdraw, but then I'm basically bursting down my cards anyway, so usually I don't take full advantage of it. So Hamlin is going to let us at least remove the 7/7, which should buy us the turn. And since we do have these puppets set up, we could quite easily go for lethal next turn. We'll be well and truly over what we need. And I can just waste a puppet here, as it's not going to make any difference to how many puppets we actually are going to be able to use. Although, if a ward come up, we could have at least been able to abuse one puppet, so maybe holding onto it might have been better. And that was a massive chunk of damage. They are only 2 short from killing me, and now only 1. They are only short that 1 damage. Luckily we are able to pull back with this Noah. That gives us 8 damage just with the puppets without an Evo. Plus the Noah for 3 gives us 11, and the Evo will bring us up to 13. Just over what we need. It's moves like this that I've really enjoyed using this deck for. It also does really well if you go more artifact focused, but you can really switch up your playstyle as you're playing, which is always a great thing with Portal. Plus, we also did have the 2 damage from the Sylvia, which I forgot, so that on top of it actually would have gave us 15 total. And this next matchup is Portal on Portal. I think they were playing a much more artifact heavy Portal over what I was playing, but it definitely makes for something more interesting. Going up against Tenko with this deck is very iffy, mostly because burst damage tends to kill Tenko well, but if they get a decent board out as well, they can kill you pretty quickly. So it's hard to say whether you can have a good matchup against it. I'd say it's probably more in the average end, and you probably want to lean toward artifacts. If you're coming up against a dragon, usually you just play normally and you go face as hard as you can, which is pretty easy. So starting off with a very normal hand. Nothing too impressive yet. We did get a chance to use Miriam, which is great. Miriam's a pretty decent card. There is the Biofab and Analyzing, so we are going to be able to wipe this board next turn using the Substitution, which is great. Personally, I don't think you can go wrong using Substitution this way, as you get a pretty decent effect off it.
Behold the power of machinery.
Of course, they do go for the Iron Staff mechanic, which does give them a decent block.
Check out this new technology.
But Stalwart Inventor, going for the Rombi play, getting that out as soon as we can, allowing us to really kind of hit them where it hurts.
It broke.
Does set us up with a nice 6/3 that now needs to be dealt with. And the Hikarabe, not really a great thing to use on it. Would have required an Evo, and then you would have lost it straight out, which would feel really bad. Luckily for us, Those Benaria is a perfect play, going to deal with this Hikarabe pretty nicely, allow us to get 6 damage to the face, and leave us with a nice artifact that could potentially be a draw if they do remove it. And we've got more than enough in our hand, so this is the kind of game where we're leading more towards the artifact side of the deck, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's why these hybrid decks are quite nice, because you can lean one way or the other, or just go for a mixture of both if that's what the playstyle entails. It does give you that versatility that you need for most of your matchups. Personally, I'm not the hugest fan of hybrid decks like this one, but Portal seems to do it a lot better than other decks. Then we have Mechanic Soldier, just trying to draw a card. Unfortunately, didn't get what I was actually after, which was an Ancient Artifact. I don't even know if I actually ended up putting an Ancient Artifact in the deck, which I don't believe I had at that point, but that's still pretty good. It did just let us draw a couple of cards out, and getting the Prime Artifact and Radiant are both going to be super handy later on. So going for the double Mystic play, plus the Iron Staff mechanic. They are using a lot of cards here, so unless they've got some draw power, they could be in some trouble. So they are going to lose most of this fairly easily. I mean, double Cat Cannoneer will clear this off immediately. It doesn't leave us with much wiggle room, but dealing with their cards and leaving them with only 2 in hand does mean they're going to be struggling for resources currently, and they have to deal with a 5/5 ward, which isn't the best thing to have to deal with when you're playing Portal and you're going for a more defensive deck like these Mystic Artifacts are. You definitely want to be going for an Ancient Artifact with Analyze the artifact if you wanted to deal with 5 health followers. So now it's just a matter of us being able to deal with this. Which unfortunately we didn't get an ancient. I was just trying to draw for it. Thought may as well take the chance, it's not going to hurt. But now we have plenty of draw power set up, and that ends up leading to the concede. So I believe this deck has done fairly well for what I wanted to use it for. It's been great fun to play, and it's won me at least 3-4 matches in a row pretty consistently. So if you do want to play it, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. The Loco will definitely improve this deck and up your win rate slightly. Don't know by how much, as I don't have a Loco to test that myself, but great fun deck if you are interested in playing Portal and more focused on puppets. Straight puppets I don't feel are quite as good. Definitely still want to focus on those hybrids if you want to play any kind of puppet variant in my opinion. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the like button and subscribe. The deck list will be in the description below, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.